so much, Kshitij, for taking your time out and joining with us. And first of all, congratulations on getting an admit to ISB.
Thank you so much.
I hope you're really happy about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, to begin with, tell me about yourself, like your educational background and your work experience.
So I studied geoscience in my undergrad and postgrad, and I did that from Delhi University, Hansraj College. During my undergraduation and the post-graduation, you basically do it from the university itself. So I graduated with a master's degree in exploration geosciences. And after that, I completed that in 2015. And immediately after graduating or completing my degree, I joined the department that I'm currently working in, which is the Department of Atomic Energy, BAE as its acronym. Yeah. So basically, the organization runs the entire national nuclear program, and I have been associated with its exploration and mining wing. So the Atomic Minerals Directorate. So the DAE is the umbrella organization. It has a number of organizations under it, like BARC, AMD, etc. So I've been working with AMD, and our organization's basic goal is to establish uranium reserves in our country, because uranium is the basic fuel for generating power in a nuclear reactor. So that is our basic mandate, and any and other strategic minerals that are required in our nuclear industry. So that is what is basically our organization's role, and I have been involved in both uranium exploration projects as well as other strategic mineral exploration projects. And so my work life is both research and development based. I have R&D roles, as well as my roles include leading drilling operations and establishing reserves. So it's a mix of both. So that's my education and WorkX background.
That's incredible. So, how did amidst this while working, how did the thought of MBA happen to you, and which program were you looking out for actually while you were researching on MBA?
As I told you, it's almost been about 5 years since I've been working now, and it was not just a one-off thought. I mean, I always had this in mind that I wanted to work. After completing my studies, I wanted to get into the industry, work, gain experience, and working in the energy industry. I've obviously understood the industry now a little bit, in the last 4 to 5 years, and I'm also working in the sort of alternate energy sector, not the most conventional form. So the thought was to get into the energy sector because it's a very dynamic and evolving sector as of now, wherein there is a slight shift from your non-renewables to renewables, the alternate energy field. And so to do that, I wanted, not to just remain a technical expertise person, but to add an MBA to myself, grow myself as a professional, and then look at getting into, companies such as maybe a Shell or a GE and others who are into both the forms of energy sector, and there is a transition, and that transition is happening through these major industry companies only. So the idea was to get an MBA, get into strategy roles, and then get into projects such as maybe expansion of wind, solar in emerging markets such as India, etc. So that was the thought behind trying to get it to do an MBA. And as far as programs are concerned, when I was looking at MBA programs in India, and I also had in mind to do a 1-year MBA, because after 5 years I did not really want to go 2 years into an MBA. So obviously the first choice was to do an MBA from ISB, because it's definitely one of the best in India and it's highly ranked. That is definitely one reason. And the other was I looked at the kind of research that is happening in ISB, because that becomes a very good resource to fall back on in the college if you want to, if you have a sector in mind, and if the college does research in it. So it's a very good resource that you can tap into. So I researched about that through ISB, through their website, and also got in touch with a few people. And I could see that from the last 3-4 years consecutively, they've had projects on in the energy sector, in the scope of expansion of wind, solar in Europe, as it's already becoming a big thing. So what is the scope for Indian markets or for Chinese markets, etc. So that interested me quite a bit. And of course, the fact that the faculty model and basically the quality of the cohort and everything. So that was a driving factor, but also the part where I could figure out. I could see what kind of research is going on. That really interested me. So yeah, applied.
So how did you come across Crackverbal? All through, I know you might have given your GMAT, and then So how did you come across Crackverbal? If you could share your journey with us here, how it all began, and what was the experience you had?
So I had already given my GMAT, and I scored a 700. So not a great score, but a good score. Which keeps you in the hunt. You can apply to colleges. Or at least that was the understanding that I had. So then, you start looking at colleges and you start going through their application process. So I wanted to get it right, basically. And so I thought it best to, get somebody on board and go from there. And also to get a feedback if, the profile and the GMAT score, the colleges that I'm targeting, if all of that gels, and I can go ahead. So I started basically looking up companies and people who are in this industry or who do this. So I came across a few options, and I came across Crackverbal. Basically, I was looking up myself on Google. That's the basic search engine. So I came across Crackverbal. I got in touch with the Crackverbal team. I think Shubham was the one who got in touch with me first, and explained the entire process to me. And then I felt I would. And then also I had a conversation with Shrikala. So I think that sealed the deal, and I was down to go ahead and work with Crackverbal.
That's great. So, if you could just share the entire process of right from profile evaluation to how was the entire journey of mentoring, and what do you think, how important is a mentor when it comes to applications fit?
I think having a mentor is important, because at times we might feel we know what we want, and we can read about the application process and everything, but it's important because they can guide you the right way. That is what I felt, because see, nobody is going to write the essay for me.
Absolutely.
Obviously.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's my story. I know, I have to put it out there, but what happens is when there is somebody who's been there, who's done that, and who's obviously doing it for a few years now, and he knows what works. So they obviously, it's very helpful because they guide you the right way. When I wrote the first draft, and Sudhanshu is who I've been working with. So he basically flipped the entire structure of the essay. And when you write it, you feel you've written a decent draft. But when the corrections come back and when the restructuring comes back, that is when you realize, okay, this obviously sounds a lot better, maybe a lot more professional. So obviously that helps. Having a mentor helps in that aspect, and two, also in streamlining your thoughts, streamlining the very basic question of why you are doing an MBA, and helps you select colleges, helps you, as you said, profile evaluation. So the first conversation that I had, a detailed one, that too, was with Shrikala. So he basically tried to understand what I'm doing, and what my academic background is, what my professional background is, what is the kind of GMAT score that I already have, do I need to take it again, or is it good enough, can I go ahead? And so basically college, shortlisting of colleges, and then basically, understanding how you need to present yourself. So all of that works, and all of that helps, because a bit of an unfinished product yourself, but obviously, speaking with maybe Shrikala, or I've had several conversations with Sudhanshu, during the whole process. So it helps you, sharpen off those edges and convert it into a finished product. So that definitely helps.
Thank you. Oh, that's great. And when it comes to the day of your interview, so if you could just share your experience on the day of your interview, how was the admission committee and how did the day go well? And definitely you also had a mock interview with us, right? So you had to
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of.
yeah.
So how did you find that it really helped you out when it came to the real interview on the day of your interview there?
To be honest, the mock interviews were very helpful. The first one that I did with Srikala, I felt I was, half prepared, half cooked, I'd rather say. And she had a lot of very, very key feedback, very, very specific points that she told me. And we obviously went through a lot of questions, a lot of, the set questions and a lot of follow-up questions during that mock interview. And it was a pretty long, half an hour, 45-minute interview that I did with Srikala. So that first interview was very helpful. Then I did a second one, I think a day or two later with Gautam. And that interview was was a sea change from the first one that I had done with Srikala. And even then, Gautam had very interesting feedback to give. So all of that really helped. And then, of course, coming to the main interview day, it was basically a panel of two alums, two ISB alumni. And I don't remember the day or date that my interview was, but I had it in the afternoon about 2:00. So I joined through a Zoom call. I was at my work site, in fact, and I was having trouble connecting because the internet was sort of down. So interview panel had joined, and I joined like a minute or two later because the internet had been down for a while. So yeah, that was not the most auspicious start. But then when I told them, they understood because they understood these glitches and problems are happening.
Yeah.
So that was very sweet on their part. And yeah, so basically I had a panel of two, and one out of the two was asking the most amount of questions, and the other one was more like an observer. So yeah, that was the basic setup. And then yeah, I had a string of questions that were thrown at me, and had a good interview. And also what happened was at the end of the interview, when the panel asks if you have any questions for us. So I started with a very standard question of how your experience was and how ISP helped you in your journey, etc. So they answered it, and the person who was asking me the questions, when he answered it, he gave a very vague reply. He said, I had a very specific industry in mind and I wanted to get into it, etc., etc. So then I asked him a follow-up question. I said, so what was the industry that you were, looking for? So then he very quietly, with a smile, he said, actually, I'm a petroleum engineer myself. So I was working in that industry. Now I'm working, XYZ place. So that is when I realized, okay, why he was being able to, ask me so many technical questions, and then he understood everything that, I was saying, because my field is not a field which, everybody is very adept with or who knows a lot about it. So he asked, so maybe that kind of worked in my favor because he knew. And so when he asked me the questions and when I was answering them, I could explain and express in detail, and he was accepting the answers and he was understanding what I was saying. And that also made the interview a little technical, so that kind of worked in my favor. And then it was not your most general interview, starting with a question like, tell us about yourself, etc. So yeah, that sort of worked in my favor. But that I only realized at the end of the interview. But it was good. It was a good experience. It was a pretty good experience.
So one last word that you would want to share with the other aspirants as you were on this journey. What is that you would want to give a word of advice?
I don't think I can give them any advice, but a suggestion would be to just maximize your GMAT score. I mean, if you are interested in doing an MBA from a good college, just maximize the GMAT score. Mine wasn't the best, but if they can get 730s, 740s, absolutely do that. Don't ask what is a good score, what is not a good score. Should I get 720? Just get as much as you can. That's the first. And the second would be to have a clear, path in your mind as to why you are doing an MBA. Because at times, especially in our country, what happens is people just want to do want to do the next degree, right? You just want to do a BTech, you just want to do an MBA. But through the application process, what I realized was the college wants to know why you're doing it, because you should the answer that you should have is, if you are at an X position, you're at X, you want to get to Y. Why is MBA the ideal bridge for it? Why not something else? So if you have a clear answer to that, I think you're good to go. Nothing, that should be an issue for you. So just have a clear idea about that and just do well in your GMAT. I'm sure you'll sail through, because everybody is a unique story. Every individual has a unique story, and it's as interesting as any others. So, and the best of people apply to these colleges. So small margins. So make sure that you work on those small margins.
Thank you, Kshitij. Thank you so much for taking some time out and being with us and sharing your story. Nice talking to you, and I wish you all the best for your future.
Pleasure was all mine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.